Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome everyone to Quality Control. And today, inshallah, we'll talk about the second part of the QFD chapter, Quality Function Deployment. And today we'll talk about the main or the major tool that used in QFD, which is House of Quality. House of Quality considered to be the primary tool that used in the quality function deployment. It is basically a matrix planning tool, or they call it a product planning matrix, that is used to show the relation between the customer requirements and how the company can fulfill these requirements based on the specification. So the definition of the House of Quality says it is defined as a product planning matrix that is built to show how customer requirements relate directly to the ways and methods company can use to achieve those requirements. What does it mean? Customer require having a smooth drive in the car product. So the company specification or methods they are using, the handling system, the material, the isolation used in the car to provide smooth and noise-free driving experience. And this tool, the House of Quality, will show you how this relation between the specifications, the technical specifications, and the customer requirements work together and help the group in the company to make the right decisions about the features that fulfill the customer requirements. So what is the use of this House of Quality? It helps facilitate the group decision making, meaning that the group, whether the company engineers or the administration or the decision making primary person for the or team for the product that you are going to launch, or even if a service transaction. This is how the House of Quality look like. It looks like a house. It has a roof, it has sides, and there is a main area, and it has a basement or lower side. In general, the roof shows the correlation within the product characteristics. What does it mean, the product characteristics? When we talked about the customer requirements, that he required a stylish car, he required a fast car, he required also comfortable driving experience, noise, low noise in the car, technology in the car. All these considered to be requirements from the customer, and we call it what. So what is the customer requirement? If you recall, when we talked in the session about Six Sigma, we talked about the voice of customer. This is the customer requirement. The product characteristics comes here in the how. How we can do fast car, how we can do a car with using technology, how we can do a car with a comfortable driving experience or low noise driving experience. How we can do that? The answer for the how comes in here on the top level of the house. The roof show the correlation between those specifications. For example, the handling system, it affects both the comfortable driving experience and the noise in the driving experience. So the relation between the handling system and the material or the noise, that is the material used to reduce the noise, the relation, it will be high. But if we consider that the technology, like for example, the screen that is used for the driver to the entertainment screens, if we compare it to the comfortable driving experience, the relation between them is not high in terms of the technical specification. So this upper level shows the specification of how we fulfill the customer requirement, and the roof shows the relation between those specifications. If there is any correlation between them, any relation, if some one of those specifications increase, the other will be also increased. So this is about the technical specification correlation. This is the technical specifications, which is, we call it the how, and the how means how we achieve these requirements that's set by the customer. The main room, they call this middle size here, is the main room. It shows the relationship between the how and what. Previously, we talked about the roof. The roof is the relation between the house, between the specification themselves. Here, the relation between the how and what, between the customer requirement and the specification. Usually, this part, the house, is set by the engineers or the specialists in the company. The what is measured from the customer requirements. Also, the correlation between the specification, it's set by the expertise in the field. Then there is the lower part, or the base part. They call it the lower base of the house. And what does it? It does to specify or prioritize the specific targets for values of the technical specification that they relate the how to the what. What do we mean by that? An example for when we said about the handling system or the wheel-based dimension, then you have to specify exactly the dimensions in inch, or the strength of the material unit, or the material size, or the type of material. So the dimensions or the definitions or the targets for those specifications can be set here in the lower base that relate the what to the hows. And also this one, it is the engineering. They call it the voice of engineers, the voice of the engineers. So this is what the engineers need to achieve the customer requirements and link them to the specification or the technical specification by having this specific value of that characteristics or that material or that equipment that we are going to use. So this is basically the house of quality. It demonstrates the correlation in one figure or in one diagram. You can look to the whole picture. You can hear the voice of customer. You can hear the voice of the engineers, and also the decision makers. They can make their decisions based on both stakeholders, the customers and the internal workers in the company who are the experts in the specification and the technical requirements. The house of quality also helps you to benchmark your work with other competitors. As we will see, there is an extend side on the right. Sometimes they do it for the comparison between other competitors, so you can measure your performance compared to others. And this is also can go to expand the house of quality figure and diagram to more information that is helpful for the decision-making team. This is an overview here. We will go further and explore what is the house of quality. This is a filled house of quality. Is not all the house of qualities, they look in terms of the values or the symbols, you see them here the same. We will explain that here, and we will show the differences. There are room for each designer or each team who's going to use the house of quality to have their own symbols or their own scale or values. We will talk about that when we explain in details now the house of quality. We talked earlier about just a brief about the house of quality, how it looked like, and it looks like the house, and the sides, the major sides in the house of quality. Here we will go in depth about how the information can be interpreted. So let's start with the with the customer requirements here, because this is the first step you do. You always hear to the customer, what is their requirements, what they want. The voice of customers that we have done in the Six Sigma session, you can watch that session to record the voice of customer. For example, the voice of customer was ease of operation, capable to close the tolerance. This is for a specific requirement for a specific product. It can be for also service. And then you can put the customer priority. What is the customer priority? If you have a set of specifications or set of features that is required by the customers, then you ask him which one is your favorite, or the must you have. And here this link us to Kano model that we have talked about in the previous session. Now you can also measure where is your customer expectation about your product. This is something that they expect to have it. This is something that, okay, they would like to have it, but is not priority. But also you can put it in your consideration. That is one of the things that your customers needs. So here, the legend key, by the way, here, this is the box for the legend key, that for those symbols, you see them triangle, that means it's weak, and the weight for that triangle is 1. The blank circle or the white circle, it's a medium, and the weight of the medium is 3. The black circle or the filled circle, it is a strong relation, or it's a strong requirement, and the weight for that, it is 9. When we say strong, medium, weak, it depends where it fits. For example, the customer priority, that means it's a strong priority, or it's a strong requirement. When we talk later about the correlation here, about the relation, if it says weak, that means it's a weak correlation or weak relation between two factors. So it works in both sides. Some people, they do different legend key symbols for each of the correlations, or even for the priority, they use a different legend key, for example, scale from 1 to 5 instead of the symbols. So it is up to you, as long as you can identify those symbols or scales. It is up to you how you put them on the figure. So we will work here and explain the side of the customer requirements. The customer requirements here, for example, is a medium operating cost. That is for the customer priority, and it has a medium priority. That means the customer would like to have it, but is not as capable to close the tolerance. The capable to close the tolerance is a strong, so you consider that it is one of the must requirements for the customer. He wants to see it. High reliability, it is also strong requirement. So if you want to rank now the customer requirement, you can rank them from high to low based on the symbols here, or based on the reference here. Now, when we talk about how this can be done, these are what we refer to this one as what? Customer requirements, or the customer's wants, the critical to quality, or voice of the customers. When we want to translate this to hows, we need the engineers here to show us how we can fulfill these requirements. And in other words, we call that the design features. The design features, or the technical requirements of the product, and it is aligned with the voice of the customer. It doesn't need every time you have, for example, 5 requirements, that means you have 5 technical requirements. You may have more, because the technical requirements, sometimes it gets more for one customer requirement, and sometimes 2 customer requirements, 1 design feature will fulfill them. So it doesn't have to be match in numbers. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. We call this the ceiling. Ceiling is the saqf. The ceiling is the feature, or the design feature, or the technical requirement. The what we call it is the customer or the voice of the customer. This is the main room in the middle. We call it the body or the main room in the house of quality. The body or the main room, it shows how the correlation fulfilling between the what and hows from scale of strong to no correlation or weak correlation. That's mean if I want to see how is the correlation between the design feature of the accuracy and the capable to close the tolerance, I will see there is a strong correlation between them, between the accuracy and the capability of closing or to be close to the tolerance. If it is not, there is no relation, you can leave it without symbol, or sometimes some people, they add symbol for no relation, and they add it here in the matrix. But if there is no symbol, that means there is no a relation. The triangle here, it shows a weak correlation. For example, the computer controlled, comparing to the same feature or the same requirement that is by the customer, the capable to close the tolerance, there is a weak relation between them. And the medium is the blank circle. So when you want to see the relation between the customer requirements and the design feature, this is the customer requirements and this is the design or the technical requirements by the engineers. You see the main room or the body of the house of quality. This is from the customer requirements to prioritize his requirements and from high to low to know what is the each requirements, how he considered that, is it high for him or it is medium or it is low. You can have a scale from 1 to 5. You can have this legend scale. You can identify the scale you want as long as you clarify it on the house of quality sheet, like having a legend key box like this one here. Now let's go up here. We have explained the ceiling, this saqf. Now let's go to the roof, the top of the house of quality. The roof, similar to the main room in terms of the correlation. But now the correlation is not between how and what. The correlation is between the house themselves, between the design feature, the technical requirements, the requirement or the, let's take one of those examples. The mean time to repair, and the built-in self-test. There is a strong relation between them. You go to either one of the side, you go up. Now when you head to the roof, you start walking to this side to see the relation on the features on this side. If you start moving to the left, you are looking for the correlation to the left. So when you achieve to the triangle here that is above the built-in self-test, you start moving towards to the right by moving to the same squares here until you hit this circle. That circle will lead you to the intersect point between this feature and this one here. So let's draw a line to explain this one here. This is the blue line from the built-in self-test feature, and this is between the mean time to repair and the built-in self-test. And this is obvious. If you have a self-test or a sensor, that will help you to detect the issue earlier and identify it clearly, so you don't waste time in the diagnosing, and it will help you to reduce the repairing time. So that's why we see a strong relation between them, and the weight of that strong relation is specified as 9. The same thing, you do it in all the other features to identify them. Again, if there is no relation between those features, you can leave them empty. You don't have to fill all of them. And this part, the roof part, as well as the how or the ceiling, it is filled by the engineers themselves in the company. Now let's go to the lower side of the house of quality. Now here it is assessment area. Part of the assessment, you do it, the one who's going to develop the house of quality, and part of that is done also by the engineers. We will explain in another example in the next slide, a more comprehensive example, and shows you how this lower side of the house of quality can be expanded for further information to the company. But what we would like here to focus on is the relative. What does it mean, the relative importance? The relative importance is the results of calculating the total of the sum of each column when multiplied by the important factor. Okay, what does that mean? Now we have identified the relation between the technical requirements and the customer requirements using the main room or the body. Also, we identify the voice of the customer or the weight of the voice of customers here in this column by hearing from the customer. Now, the high reliability, would you consider this is a strong, medium, weak, or high, medium, low? He said, yes, it is high for me, or it is strong for me. Then that's why we put this sign. Now, this also, it is strong, has a strong relation with the mean time between failure. So obviously, reliability means the mean time to failure has to be to the minimum. You don't want to drive a car that is breakdown every time. That means it doesn't have a reliability. So now there is a strong relation between this feature and the high reliability that is set by the customer. Also, for the mean time to failure, there is a medium relation with the minimum operating cost, because if you think about it, the maintenance cost will be increased if there is mean time to failure that is high. So there is a medium relation between this feature and the customer requirements about the operating cost. Okay, now how we calculate the relative? You see the number 108, and also you see the absolute, that is 12, and you see the risk is a strong. So how we can, or how we identify these values? We have to multiply the value of the feature here, that is the symbol that we use. For example, the correlation here between the mean time to failure and the minimum operating cost is 3, and it is 3 for both of them. So 3 times 3 is equal to 9. And also the relation here between the mean time to failure and the high reliability, both of them are 9. So 9 times 9 is 81. Now, when we add first the 3 and 9, we get the absolute value, which is the 12. The absolute value, it is the sum of the weight for the features value, the sum of the weight of the features value. We had 3 here and 9 here. How we found that? We found it from the legend key. The legend key says that the value here is 3 and the value here is 9, so it will be 12. Now we have the remaining part, which is the risk part. The risk part is the company has identified that is not going to be fulfilled to the customer. So, for example, they will lose part of the market share or some of them of their sales. So what they do in this case, they have to identify what is the weight of that risk in this case. So also they use the same symbols that for the risk, and use it here in the matrix. In this case, after you get the value of the absolute, you multiply it with the risk. This is a similar, if you recall the FMEA, the failure mode effect analysis tool, that is use a score base for what if this happened or what if that failure happened. So here in this case, the 12, if you multiply it with the weight of the risk, which is the 9, it will give you the 108. But not every time it's a must to do the risk here. Now, that's one of the things that I will explain it here in this example, and in the coming example, the lower side, it has a major idea, but then since it is built or it is filled by the company, so the company, they can use it in terms of the cost analysis, in terms of the specifications, values that is going to be used for each of those technical features. In this case, this is just to show you how these values is being identified. For example, here, the value is 9 because the accuracy has only one relation with the capable of closing the tolerance, being close to the tolerance, which is 9. That's why it is placed as 9. And that 9 is multiplied with 3 here, and that 3 identified as the risk, and 3 times 9 is 27. Why they use that? To identify at the end which one they have to focus on first. So if you see those crosses here, they cross the first 3 or the highest 3 scores. They want to focus on those 3 key elements. Okay, what about this side? Before we move on to this, we have to explain this side, the competitive benchmarking. Here, where I told you this gives you the ability to look to the market and see where are you standing compared to your competitors. The scale here from 1 to 4 mean that it is from low to high, as from weak to strong, okay? A, B, C, and O, all these abbreviation about either the company's name or operator's name. For example, here the O, it stands for our company. That means the company who built this house of quality tool. The C, it is another competitor. His name is C. Another competitor, his name is B, as well as for A. So A, this is ours. This is where are we standing in terms of those customer requirements. So if we are strong, let's look where are we. We are strong on high degree of compatibility. We are strong at that point. But also we are weak on the minimum operating cost. That means our operating cost is very high compared to the other competitors. Also, we are somehow in the middle or in the high middle in the high reliability. So we are not bad in the reliability, but also company A, it is better than us in the high reliability. As well as if you think or compare their operating cost, it is low. That means they are good in the cost of the operating and also good in the reliability. This tracing line is just to follow where is your trend or where are you standing compared to others visually, and see how you are standing with other competitors in terms of these customer requirements. So this is basically on the other side of the customer requirements because it shows you your performance compared to them. Also, this side, it can be filled by your team and hearing from the customers, because some of the customers, they may have experience with other of your competitors, so you can hear from them and also listen to them, as well as your team who's going to investigate with others competitors means. Now here, let's go back to the technical benchmarking. The technical benchmarking says that the competitors and your company, how they are performing in terms of those technical specifications, and also shows that where are you standing comparing to them, so you can have a full picture about the specification, the technical, as well as for the customer requirements. Some others, they use this side in a different way, as I will show you in the next slide. Some, they don't use triangle or circles, they use scales of 1 to 5. They use dashes, pluses, and minus, as we will see in the next example. There is no a unified rule. It is up to you. You can identify even your own symbol, but you have to show a key box here or a legend box here that explain the symbols or explain the signs that you have used for the correlation or identifying the company's names or competitors. So here it shows the technical benchmarking for the technical specification between you and the other competitors. Here is the scale of 3, and here is the scale of 4, and here is a scale of 1. 1 is low and 4 is high, or 1 is weak and 4 is strong. This is one example. Let's move to another example. It's a house of quality for a drone that all we are familiar with this device. It is used for sometimes recording and taking pictures using remotely portable devices that fly. This is a house of quality, and it looks different, but all of them, they are common in terms of the structure. All of the house of quality has a roof, has a ceiling, has a main body, has a lower side. They have customer requirements. They call it what? Here they call the competitive assessment on the right side. So as you can see, this is a further explanation about the structure of the house of quality extended to this example. We call it the lower level or the foundation level of the house of quality, and the importance factor that we have identified here in a different way by showing the benchmark to the other customers, and we show the cross features that are the key element after we identify the score for each one of those technical requirements. Now here, let's explain it again, but with a different samples and different also an extra information here for this example to give you an idea how this house of quality can get further and be more informative. You can even add your own. This is a tool that where you can expand it in the way that is more useful, depending on your application. We all explained now, we knew about this roof, what it does. It's compared the correlation between those technical specifications and the what is representing the customer or voice of customer, the customer requirements. Let's say he wants the drone to be stylish, lightweight, definitely they don't want it heavy, quiet, super HD camera so it can record a good resolution picture, stable, it doesn't shake when it is flying, so it takes a stable picture. Long range, which is one of the obvious feature they want, so they can cover a larger space. Self-directing, programmable paths, high quality finish, durability body, long drone battery life, long remote battery life, all these customer requirements for the drone. Now the engineers collect them. Now the engineers translate them into technical specification. In this case here, we have the number of specification or customer requirements equal to the number of technical specification. It doesn't have to be the same every time, but it can be or it can't. It is okay. Either they are equal or more or less. Now here they convert them to technical specification. For the stylish, they refer that as a styling jury. The lightweight, they refer that the technical specification is the weight itself. the quiet. They didn't specify this for the quiet. They said the size. Also, maybe this referred to the lightweight again. The noise output is the dB, is the specification for the noise. Horizontal pixel, definitely this is for the resolution. And you can here see some even technical parts like a ship number or something like that. The kilometer is a specification for definitely the range where it can fly. The stress test, this is definitely for the durability and reliability. The minutes is the unit for the time for the battery for both the drone and the remote. As you can see, we will come to that. You see them all related here to those points, and it's a strong relation, definitely. Okay, so this is the technical requirements set by the customer. What about those here on the top? We haven't talked about these arrows. There is down and up arrows. What are those arrows? Those arrows are maximize or minimize this technical specification. What does it mean? Let's take this since we stopped here. The minutes. The minute is the time for the battery life. The customer wants it to be increased, so you put the arrow to up. Let's say look for something down. Okay, the noise. The noise. The customer wants the noise down. Why? That means he wants to reduce the noise in the drone, so we put the arrow down. The maximize and minimize, it's a way of representing the customer's requirements on that specific requirement, on that specific technical specification. Okay, he set it as a customer requirements first here, but here the engineers, when they get the information and hear from the customer, they have to identify whether they want to increase it, they want to decrease it, those technical specification. What about this column here? We call it the periodizing column, or here we call it in the other house of quality customer priority. We call it the customer priority. You can name it in the way as long you identify the values correctly. Here, the scale used from 1 to 5 to show the priority of that customer. The stylish, he said, or they say it is acceptable for 2. This is not a really high priority or a strong need. But if you see the battery, oh, okay, the battery has a strong need, so it is very high priority to the customer. That means the customer emphasizing on these requirements. So you have to consider that as one of the things that the customer needs. Also, we have other highs, super high definition camera, stability. What else we have low? We have a high quality finish. So basically, the customer really, even if he's considering the styling and the design, but he has other features or other requirements are more important than those. He set them, and this leads us again when we talked about the Kano model. Remember, here gives you a hint. What is expected quality? What is the excitement quality, or we call it that time, what was the basic quality and what is the excitement quality? What makes the customer excited, and what is the basic expectation he has to see in the product? And here, this is just a serial number from 1 to 12, so nothing here to worry about. Now let's go to the main body. The main body is very important. Let's take an example here. The example, it was between the lightweight and the noise of the output. The relation, there is a triangle. Okay, what is the triangle means here? We go to the legend box. The legend box says it is a weak relationship. It is a weak relationship. The weight of that relationship is 1. You will use that one when you come to the importance of that factor, as we did previously. So let's see another one. Let's take this one here, the purple one. There is no identification about the colors. This is just to take an example. This is an example here of durable body. There is a double circle. When we have a double circle, we go to the legend box. It says the strong relation, and the weight is 9. So the durable body and the stress test, they have a strong relation. Obviously, one of the material characteristic experiment is the stress test for the material to check the durability of that material, and that's why it has a strong relationship here. So here, the relation between the voice of customer and the technical requirement, and you can apply to the all. Triangle means weak and the weight is 1. Medium relation is 3 with 1 circle. Double circle is the strong relation with a weight of 9. If you don't have a symbol for one of those relation and one of those features and the technical requirement, that means there is no relation, so you don't have to worry about it. It is okay. If there it is, then you have to identify whether it is weak or medium or strong. Some people, they add no relation, and you put that as a 0 here as a fourth correlation criteria. Now let's go to the roof. The roof shows the correlation, but between the technical specification. We can see here the representation of that correlation is different than the previous example. The previous example used the same legend key or the samples in identifying all the correlation between the customer requirements and technical specification, as well as the interrelation between the technical specification. Here they use different samples, and that's why I brought 2 different examples to show you that it can be using the same symbols that you use for the main body, or you can use different symbols. Here it shows double plus, that means a strong positive correlation. That means if one of those technical specification increase, then the other increase. That's why this is a different way of representation. It's not just a relation, but how this relation, it is positive relation or negative relation. The positive correlation, that means it is positive but is not strong as the double plus. The same for the negative and double negative. Now let's take an example. Let's take the weight. The weight is one of the technical specification. You go to the weight, you follow the blue dots here until you get to the intersection here. There is a double plus. That means it's a strong relation, a strong positive relation. That means if this weight increase, there is another factor will increase highly. What is the other factor? You go down again, follow this blue line, follow this blue line here. You go to the symbol and then you go down. Okay, you achieve the other feature. What was the other feature? Is the noise output. So the weight and noise output, there is a strong relation between them. Those 2 technical specifications, they have a strong relation. You can take another example. For example, this one here is this ship W26 and the minutes. So it seems to be there is a strong negative correlation between these 2 technical features. The W26 chip, maybe it is when it is increased or when it is used, that means it is consuming of the battery. So this processor chip, it is consuming a lot of energy. That's why it has a strong negative correlation. If there is no relation, you can leave it empty. Again, this roof side, it's always done by the engineers. They know better about those interrelation between the specification. Now let's go to this side this time, the right side, the competitive assessment. This is very important, and it gives you where are you standing with the other competitors if you are trying to increase your market share. So the competitive assessment here used a different scales. In this example, you see they are using different scales. Here for the roof, they used pluses, minuses. Here they use triangle and shapes. Here they use 1 to 5 or 2 to 5. 1 maybe because was not applicable, it's fine. Here they use also 1 to 5 again, and it is applicable to some of the features I will see here. And they use those symbols. What is P, S, and F? Those are the competitors. The competitors. F, excuse me, is the flying company or fly company. This is another drone company that produce drones. S stands for Samsung, P for Panasonic. So they could be one of those. It doesn't matter, or you can identify your own, but those are the competitive assessment. And you can even, without looking to yourself, looking to the market, and then you can design based on how the market is working. So you can dig on a new area or new specification that is not fulfilled by your competitors. So let's take an example here. One of the things that is needed, the battery, one of the most needed, two of them, the battery. We see the fly company, they give you a good long remote battery life, okay? And for the long drone battery life, they were on scale 4. So they are almost the best in the market for the batteries. And this is, for example, a feature for this fly company that give them the advantage compared to other, which is Panasonic and Samsung, because Panasonic comes after fly company, but you can see Samsung, it is very far, so that means they're providing low battery range, but definitely they have other feature, but they are good at it, stylish. Okay, so they can attract you by the design if you are caring about the design of the of that drone, but they will give you a low battery range. They can give you another strong point, a super HD camera. That means they are the best also in the, or one of the best in the camera. Fly company also gives you a good and super HD camera. That means Samsung and Fly company here are competing. The super camera is only the Samsung. The Fly company is the quietness of the drone. So the super camera here, it is only by Samsung. Fly company comes after them. As the battery was the flying company leading, Samsung was way back. Here, Samsung is best in the camera, and Fly company comes. This gives you how you can look to the market, where you can trigger. You can look where is the balance between all of these features that was not covered, or you cover something that is new. You want to compete with which of those competitors, so you can have a similar market share. Maybe you are focusing on the camera and another feature that was not fulfilled by Samsung, like the battery, so you can have a balance between the best camera and the best battery. It depends on your vision for the company and what you want to achieve. This shows the Fly company, and as long this line it's drawn here, that's mean this is our company or our evaluation about ourselves. So we can see our trend for the specification. Where are we high? We are high on the battery. Are we low compared to the others? We are low in the style. Okay, so this company trend or focus, they are not focusing really on the stylish drones, but they are focusing on having lightweight, high resolution camera, good battery range, but they are in the middle of others. So this is our performance, the drone line for a Fly company, and you benchmark with your other competitors like here, Samsung and Panasonic. Now let's go to the lower level or the foundation. The lower level or the foundation. Now here, the specifications or technical requirements values. For example, the weight, they wanted 1.81 kilograms. So this is the specification. It doesn't have to increase or be more than that. The stylish jury, that means they will assign 5 to 8 people only to design the style or the drone, how it looks like. You can apply to all the features. For every feature now, there is a specific value for that technical specification. And this is, again, set by the engineers, as well as those technical requirements set by the engineers and the interrelation between them set by the engineers. Here, also this one, after they identify the units or the values that is needed for each of those technical requirements, they put them here, and the importance of each one of those, it can be calculated based on the same criteria that we have done it before. You go to the values for the weight. The value of the weight in this case, it is slightly different than the one previously, because in the one previous they put the risk, and the risk factor was not considered here. So only the importance factor weight will be multiplied with the weight of the sample. Excuse me. The weight of the sample here, the double circle means that it is 9, and 9 times 2 is 18, and then we have the value is 3 for the only single circle, and 3 times 2 is 6, and then we have another 3, but this time it is times 3, so we have 18 plus 9 plus 6, and that gives us 33. Again, if you go to another one, let's go to this one since it is single value here only, which is the lightweight and the size. The lightweight and the size, they have a correlation of strong relationship with a value or weight of 9. The weight is 9. So 9 times the 3 for the periodizing ranking. 3 times 9 is 27. So this is the 27 here. When you get the value of all the technical specification importance, you add them up, all this row, you add it up, and you will get the value of 634. And then you can get the percentage for each of this factor, the importance, weight, or percentage. By dividing the 33 over the 634, you will get the 5%. And here you'll get almost 5.6. It is rounded to 6, and so on. For this is the percentage of the importance. You can rely on the value here. If you want to go to the percentage, is fine. Now here we can see that the battery time, which is related to this technical specification and that requirement, represent the highest importance. And then you can see what is next. You can look at the values. You can see also the this chip, which is the W26 chip, which is correlated to many of those features here, like the self-directing, programmable paths, the battery also. It is so you have to focus on this one also. And now your engineering team, or this is why they call it the voice of engineering, the lower level or the foundation. Now they can focus or they can identify what is the most important to focus based on this side, the competitive assessment, and this table. They can identify which technical specification they need to focus, because both of these two, they already consider the voice of the requirement or voice of the customer or the customer requirements, so they can set those and translate it to critical to quality or design features after they prioritize. For example, they can consider that the styling, it was not really a major or a big deal in this product of the drone. So it has importance of 33 or only 5%, as well as for the weight, it was not really high. But we can see like here, some factors are really high. So maybe this is where the focus on and the consideration from the engineering team and the decision-making team. This was all for the House of Quality. I hope it was helpful, and this can be implemented for both products and service. Always the questions, you have to identify the definition of the structure parts of the House of Quality. You can have a case study with all the information given, and then you can fill on blank where it is based on the information given from the text. So you can put the right values on the House of Quality template. You can also have this side blank, and you calculate the values. In this case, since we are using the priority weight for the calculation of the relativeness or the importance, here it was different. The risk factor was the consideration. They added the values and then they multiplied them with the risk factor without the customer priority. It will be clearly identified in the question if something like happen. If the risk value, and this is rare cases to have this row, but sometimes it depends on the application you are using. If the risk row is not given and only the customer priority weight, that means you have to use it. If both of them, then it will be specified the question. You have to use the risk weight to calculate the relative or the importance. And then also it can ask you, from your point of view, which factor or which technical requirement you should focus on. Then you have to look to those high values, and you say, I would say I will think or consider the major three technical or higher score or importance in this technical requirements, like here the minutes and this ship, the processing ship, and the noise value. This is one of the interpretation that you can give after you get the results. For example, this can be given, and then you have to do the interpretation. Give us your explanation. What is the best, or what is the priority here to focus on? How do you evaluate a flying company with the competitors in terms of the long range? Then you have to show the relation here and explain. They are falling in the high middle. They are better than Panasonic, but they are less than Samsung. Values like here, it can be given as a text explanation, so you can represent them here or there. Or this arrow, it could be blank and give you the requirement in the text, so you can fill them. So you will not design it from scratch because it doesn't is not applicable, unless if it's a case study or a project in other courses there where you can develop this House of Quality from research. But this is in terms of the questions, how can it comes. I hope you enjoyed this part and you learned a new tool. I will see you in next session with additional information about the quality control. See you and goodbye.